Tēnō atu enoa ngā maunga whakahi kia koutou teiwi ka ngaro i te ao. Ngā manu whititua, kua wehe mai roto i ngā iwi ngā pautoko manoa o ngā whare mai reo ngā mātua tūpuna ngā māre kūra, ngā whatu kōura, te pūaotanga o te atahua ki rangi. I unuhi atu ai koutou, te hungamata ki te hungamate, te tapu o tua whakarere. Taiaha, te taira, kete mai, kete atu. Te taira e pari ana ki whea, e pari ana ki tawhiti nui, ki tawhiti roa, ki tawhiti pāmamau, ki ta haupūranga o te kauheke kaumātua, he atua, he tangata. E pari ana ki Hawaii ki nui, ki Hawaii ki roa, ki te iwi hoki ngā kore ki muri nei, tihe Māori ora. Nō reira e te pāpā, te wharehuia, te nei tō iwi e tangi nei ki a koe. Aha koa rā, ko we te kena ngā here, o te au kiko e wā te ei tō wairua te whakarere i ngā toi mahatanga o te tinana. E tangi ana mātou. Engari ko taonga, ko whakatongia ki roto i tō iwi Māori o tira. I roto i te hunga i whai wāhi atu ki a koe i māringa nui ki te noho i orekereke. Nō reira e te pāpā oki atu. Oki atu. Te neau tō tamaiti e mihi nei ki a koe. O te pārai roa e whakatairanga nei i nā kupu mihi ki a koe, i nā kupu aroha ki a koe. O tira e raumahara nei i etahi o nā kupu i putai i a koe i roto i ngā tau. Hei kōrero māku ki ngā taringa o Aotearoa whānui, o te ika māu i tiki a taranga whakawhiti te waipou, ki te waipou namu o tira ki te ao. Nō reira e te pāpā koe nei te rā e ngaro ai koe. I wainga nui a mātou te tirohanga tangata, te tirohanga kanohi ngā mahu e tanga iho rātau mā, e te pāpā e moe. E ngā iwi o Ngāi Taringa tēnā koutou. Welcome back to the solemn broadcast of Taringa, where we mourn the loss of one of our rangatira, one of our iho pūmanawa, Dr. Wharehuia Milroy, who passed away this week amongst his whānau after an illness. And we thought it was pertinent to do a tribute episode to Te Wharehuia. And this isn't a eulogy as much, but rather a sharing of some of the kōrero that he has shared with his many tauira, colleagues, friends, and those who were lucky enough to catch any of his many words of wisdom that he has left to us that are written in the books, but more so are still spoken amongst ourselves in conversation, in waiata we sing, and on the marae, which was one of his main goals, was for our language to live and for these taonga to be perpetuated by us, by the living. I opened with a tauparapara and a poroporoaki to Te Wharehuia, as per our tikanga i roto i te ao Māori. And I think it was fitting to do so i rongo au i tērā i roto i te wairua. Hoi anō kei konei māua ko te puaheiri. E noho ana ki te whakapāho i tēnei whakapāhotanga motuhake o Taringa, e whakapāho atu nei, iko nei i te ipurau, anei o te wānanga o te eroa. Nō reira, a tēnā koutou.
Tēnā koutou katoa, o tira tēnā koe tai. Mou i whakawaha nei ngā kupu, e whakakākahutia tō tātou nei manu korere. Nei ngā oku whakaroa, e ko ingo tonu nei kei roto i au, e ngā whakaro nui ki aia, me tōna whānau e noho pani ana i tēnei wā tonu. Ka waiho i ko rā, mā tāua e tēnei wā tonu, e whakamana, he whakanui, e whakakupu, e whakakōrero tonu nei i ngā taonga i tuku iho e ia. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Ai, tēnā koutou, and I'm sure there are quite a few of you Ngāi Taringa, and that's what we have labelled or given the name to the listeners of Taringa, Ngāi Taringa. So you're your own, we are all our own movement, who may not know who Wharehuia Milroy is.
Kia ora.
Nō reira, i ki tau i tētahi pōhi i te pukamata, I saw a post on pukamata on the Facebook, and I thought I could read it because really just as a synopsis, I guess, of his life and some of the things he'd done.
Kia ora.
I think it's important that I read this so people that don't know who Te Wharehuia is, and I'm not going to say was because he still is this person that done all these things.
Yes, yeah.
And I think koina te rereke.
Ai, he will ever be.
Koina.
A person will ever be.
Koina aha kua ngaro. Even though he's gone, he is still this person that done all these things.
Kia ora.
And then we can look at one of his, he had lots of kiwaha, but anyway, I'm going to read this. Professor James Te Wharehuia Milroy, QSO Tūhoe, CNZM, PhD, honoris causa, 1937 to 2019. One of the foremost exponents of te reo tikanga and mātauranga Māori of his generation. Wharehuia was a professor of Māori at the University of Waikato, a trustee of the Kohanga Reo National Trust, a member of the Taura Whiri, a member of the Triumvirate that created Te Panekiretanga, a member of the New Zealand Geographic Board, and a leading and highly respected member of the Waitangi Tribunal, sitting on many important cases, including Tūranga, Mangatu, Tarawera Forest, and Wairarapa. He also sat as a lay member of the Māori Land Court with Judge Carter and the late Denny Jaram on the influential Ngāti Power case, and gave important evidence on Tūhoe customs surrounding whāngai in the landmark Hōhua decision of the Māori Appellate Court. Wharehuia influenced the generation of Te Reo Māori students and speakers through his mastery of the language, his constant encouragement and nurturing of his students, and his boundless energy and optimism, culminating in the publication with Sir T. Motikaretu and might I add his very good friend, He kupu tuku iho, ko Te Reo Māori te tatau ki te ao, which completely sold out in its first print run. A descendant of the chiefs Tamarau Waiari and his son Takurua, Te Wharehuia was a member of Ngāti Kōura, Ngāti Muriwai, Ngāti Hinekura, and Ngāi Te Riu Hapu of Tūhoe. Wharehuia passed away in the early hours of the morning of Tuesday, the 7th of May, 2019, after a long illness. His beloved wife Niwa predeceased him in 2010. E te rangatira e te pāpā moe mai. And just to give reference, this was a post by Lane Harvey, and I'm not sure if it was solely written by her, hoi anō, by that person, Lane, e mihi ana ki a koe. And that gives you a good idea of the mahi that Wharehuia done. Nō reira e mihi ana ki rā kōrero katoa. And he was also a cheeky fella. He was very, very cheeky, and those of us that knew him, he liked a good joke. And he could be quite serious, and then he would, crack the whip, and he's dropping a joke on you. And I know if there's anyone listening that knew him in that manner, there were all sorts of things he'd do. He had some phone pranks and other things.
Oh, kia ora.
Or he had some doozies. Some of them I can't actually share on here because we might get someone put a complaint into the broadcasting standards or something. But he was cheeky, and he was fun to be with, and he had the type of personality, or the wairu, I should say, that you felt you were sitting in the presence of someone great, but he had the wairu of your koraua. And the many times that I did sit with him And sometimes at his feet, I felt he was my papa, I felt he was my koro. So that was the wairua he beheld.
He was, because I wasn't lucky enough to be in any of his classes or to be able to sit alongside him or, at his feet, as you say. But he didn't have to actually feel that his character or his wairua, as you said. It's actually not an easy thing to be a person of great humility, and you can feel such an awe. You can have such an awe about the person.
Absolutely.
So that is who Wharehuia is.
And his humility, his whakaiti was his mana.
Kia ora, koina.
Yeah, and he embodied that. He embodied whakaiti, humility. When you were around him, I remember at Wharehuia came to Timoti. Timoti celebrated his 80th birthday a couple of years ago, and Wharehuia came, and not very often he would go out to functions and things like that. And everybody just wanted to be around him and touch him and say hello to him because it had been so long. And someone said, I think it was Leon, who goes, it was like Jesus walked into the room. Or it might have been Tātere. But that was the way that he had. And it was good enough for people just to come and say, kia ora.
Tika.
Shake hands to him. And, whoa, Wharehuia touched me. Or Wharehuia spoke to me. That's how he was. So he had that, definitely had that wairua about him. One of his kiwaha, or that he would use in conversation, was etama.
Etama.
E tewe etama. And etama, to my understanding, sort of means like, oh gosh, geez, far out.
So it's not just, oh boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, or it could be, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And that's something that I've actually, I use etama quite a bit.
Yes, you
and
do.
I think I got it off him. Yeah.
Yeah. Praone, I'm talking to you, Ngāi Taringa, is someone who a lot of people look up to. I myself as one. And you don't realise who the man has learned from until you realise where some of these kōrero from. So when you say e tama, because Praone does say that a lot, e tama. And when you said that, what's one of the kiwaha that Wharehuia always uses? And you said e tama, I said he tohu tēnā. You will learn and you will pass on the things that you learn from your greatest teachers or your greatest tipua, tuahangata. These are the things, and everything that we are learning today, or a lot of the things that you are learning in Te Reo, some of the most famous kiwaha or whakatauki in this day and age within Te Ao Māori, these are the teachings. This is one of the people that have passed on. These teachings come from Wharehuia Milroy.
Kia ora.
So, and because he has taught what I wanted to say is he is the iho pūmanawa of our iho pūmanawa.
Tika.
Yeah.
Tika.
So we are lucky. We are the lucky recipients of some of his kōrero or his mātauranga.
Tēnā koe. And I think even that kupu, iho pūmanawa, he tika tau, he embodied and was the epitome of everything he taught.
Kia ora.
And and he was a window to another time.
Tika.
And I remember when I'm reminiscing now on a lot of things he said, and one in particular was when the doctor, or Koro Tui we called him, but Dr. Tui Adams passed away. And he said to me, koe kati ngā tatau o te whare wānanga. Mā wai praone, mā wai hei whakatuwhera. So at the passing of Dr. Tui Adams, who was one of the pū kōrero in the time of Te Ariki Nui, Te Atairangi Kāhui and Ninkingi Tūheitia, he was one of the pū kōrero orators for the Queen, the late Queen, and now Te Kingi Tūheitia and Tainui Waka Ngāti Mane Poto. He passed away, and Wharehuia asked, he said, the doors of the whare wānanga have been closed, and the question, Praone, is who will open them again? And I guess these are some of the things that we're thinking. Those of everybody around the mutu, I mean, there's been a flood of aroha on Pukamata.
Aye.
And I mean, social media, love it or hate it, it's a place where we can, ko puta te kōrero, ko Pukamata, te marae hou.
Ai, tika.
O te iwi Māori.
Te Aotea Nui.
Yes.
Te Aotea Nui.
Facebook is the new marae. And it's where we can vent, it's where we can share whakaaro, and it's a place where we can share our grief.
Kia ora.
And our mourning, and just, right from this morning, from the time where made its way out across Te Reo Māori, I've seen tributes going up on Facebook, and I think everybody's thinking that the doors of this whare wānanga, te whare wānanga o Wharehuia have been shut.
Aye.
Who will open them? But he was, a lot of his teachings were, well, kei au I nāia nei kei a kouta a pōpō, me now, and you've all got it tomorrow. And I believe that he's shared enough of his mātauranga and mohiotanga and māramatanga
Tika.
that they will live on. I mean, look, we're talking about them now, still today.
Aye.
Using them. And, so koina.
Aye. He always said as well, it's almost a known saying throughout Māori academics, is that mātauranga is not mātauranga unless it's shared.
That's right.
And so those ones who are holding on to things, they're no good because they'll be lost with you once your time is up.
Koina hoki. He tika tēnā, koina tētahi o ana kōrero, kaua e kaiponu I te mātauranga.
Kia ora, kia ora.
Don't, hea te kaiponu? Don't be...
Kaua e matapu, don't be stingy or don't,
I'm sure Timothy could think of a better word than stingy, but...
Don't Scrooge or
don't be a Scrooge with your mātauranga.
Aye.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the mātauranga we have was handed down to us.
Aye.
So it's our job, our responsibility to hand on that mātauranga.
Kia ora.
And koenei wana whakaakoranga, he taught at many kura reo.
Kia ora.
And I guess if you're listening, you're wondering, isn't this a Iwi o Te Wiki episode? And he passed this week and we thought, wow, it feels right to do a tribute episode to him. But within the thinking of Iwi o Te Wiki, ko tana iwi, ko te iwi kōrero Māori.
Kia ora.
Ko te iwi whakaora I te reo, ko te iwi whakaaro nui ki te reo. Koene anō tana iwi.
Ko tōna whare.
Ai, ko tōna whare.
Aye.
And he taught a lot of kura reo, and he would teach whakatauki. That was his akoranga, I roto I nā kura reo. And then in later years, instead of teaching the whakatauki no te ao Māori, and we've done a episode on whakatauki, he made up some of his own whakatauki. And we've talked about a couple, or maybe one, I roto I a Taringa. One was tū whitia te hopo.
Tū whitia te hopo, aye.
Feel the fear.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
And do it anyway.
Yeah. That's the renowned translation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you, in this new age of memes or motivational posters, the equivalent would be beyond fear is reward. Out of your comfort zone is, yeah.
So, that's the mark of his, the mātauranga and his eloquence with kupu, was eloquence, I should say, that we're still using his whakatauki and kōrero, and that's one that's been coined. And, hate ki tau etahi kōrero I runga I te pukamata, nā mea te rā kōrero whakareo e tama, not even.
Not even.
Yeah.
It was probably nā mea koe I ako.
Yeah. I heard such and such made up that whakatauki, it's from such and such iwi. Nā te wharehuia.
Nā te wharehuia.
Nā te wharehuia te rā, nā te rā kōrero. We were just talking about presence, the presence of Wharehuia. Leon and I were talking about that. He was like Mufasa.
Aye.
And that was our code name for Wharehuia, was Mufasa. And that scene in Lion King, if you've seen
Tana takahanga, tana tapuai.
Yeah.
Aye.
And what's that scene in who's this? It's Scar that doesn't like or the hyenas.
Yeah.
And that's when I
we'll
hear
say
that,
his name again.
Mufasa.
Ooh, say it again.
He pera te Wharehuia.
Aye.
And I recollect this time I went to a tangi with him and Po.
Aye.
And the partner of Po was driving. We went to this tangi in Te Teko. And this person was quite a prominent person in broadcasting, a pioneer of Māori broadcasting, Bully Pryor. And he pāpā hoki tēnei no tētai hawaku hoa. And we went to this tangi. We pulled up at the marae outside. And the group looked like they were getting ready to go on. Well, when they saw this car pull up and they saw who was in the car, not me. When they saw Wharehuia and Poutemara.
Did they-
And it
Did
was
they
like
handbrake on the ope?
yeah, it was like but it was like the Red Sea parted.
Oh, kia ora.
And anyway, we got out of the car and ko wareware au engari ka taimai tētahi ki te kōrero. And this is one of the tikanga. Before you go on to the marae, you sort of do your huddle. And you meet and greet and you decide who's opening the kōrero for your side, who's in between and who's going to finish.
Your hui before the hui.
Yeah, anyway, they came over to Pou and Wharehuia. And they said, well, kei a kōrua. Mā kōrua whakatau, kei a kōrua. And Wharehuia turned and said, here's our kai kōrero here. And everybody looked at me.
O i tohua koe?
Yeah. Here's our, anei te kai kōrero. Everybody looked at me and I thought, who the bloody hell is that? And I tell you what.
It's not a time for Jedi training. We want
No. Exactly. I mean, I was there with, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And Yoda and
Yeah, and I don't think I was even like Luke Skywalker.
Oh, far real.
And that's exactly how I felt. And I felt, tino a mai. If you know what that kupu is, a mai means nervous. So yeah, rongo i te a mai, and I could feel, my knees. And anyway, ka whakeke mātou. And on the other side, there was Pouroto, and there were all other speakers from across. Yeah, and a whole lot of other pū kōrero on our side, on the manuhiri side. And, my knees were knocking. And just before I got up, Wharehuia tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, go get him, boy. I looked to him for some inspiration, and that's what he said to me, you go get him, boy. And koina te ahua o te korauara. Another thing was he was just really, really old school. And I know people talk about old school, and that's what I loved about him. I think that's what people loved about him. He was old school. Mm-hmm. And an example of this was a wānanga we were both at, and I had this iau tētahi take nui nei. I hehi au kia ho mai ia o na whakaaro ki taku take. E whai au I tētahi māramatanga. So I had this take, and I needed some advice. And I had a kōrero with Wharehuia, and I asked him a question about it. And he said to me, tai hoa, ka whakautua e au tō pātai. And this was on a Friday night, I remember. So he replied to me saying, yeah, I'll answer your question, just, hold up. This was Friday night. Now I'm quite anxious to get his answer.
Yeah.
So it was Friday night, get into Saturday, and I thought, I'll give him some space, and, I'm not going to say anything really.
Are you looking at him sideways going, I wonder if he's thinking about my question,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the day goes on against the lunchtime, and it's the afternoon, and you do not ask. He was a tohunga. You don't ask a tohunga, have you got an answer to my question?
Have you done that thing? Have you pondered my...
Yeah, and Saturday night, kare tonu e whakautu iau. Tainua ki te rātapu, kare whakautu iau. And I went home. And, I thought I had this man, he didn't answer my question. And it was a long time after anyway. It might have been a month or two. I saw him again. And by then I'd forgotten. I just, thought, disregarded that he was going to answer my question or give any. Anyway, we sat, and he goes, e praone. Ka tīmata ki te kore. Just started talking. And I thought, man, this is random.
Where's this coming from?
What is he talking about?
Yeah.
And he provided this whole back series. And then he got to the kōrero and he said, anei te whakautu ki tō pātai. Yeah. And in its most fullest form, he answered everything. He answered, had all these awanga about this take. And he answered it. And it was just beautiful how he wrapped it all up. In this day and age of instant information, Google, internet, everything, technology, not only that, books and everything, we just expect things instantly. Yep. And that taught me to be patient.
Kia ora.
So yeah, a lot of time when people ask me for things, I tell them that story.
But he completely forgets. And you have to email him, and then you have to say things that may spark a thought, and then he might go,
Ai.
e tama.
Yeah. E tama ko wareware.
Ko wareware au.
No, I'll be like, e tama I wareware. Oh, gosh. Oh, I forgot about that.
No nāia ke tēnā kata
Yeah.
kia. I want to go back to when he said, go get him, boy. Kia whakaro, he whakapono nōna ka pai koe? Do you think that he thought that you were, he said, I wouldn't, because, sometimes I think they do that, old tohunga or people, they put you in the deep end knowing that you'll be all right. Did you, upon reflection, do you think it was like that or?
Yeah. Yeah, in reflection, absolutely. Yeah. And they were both definitely testing me.
Yeah.
How could it not be when they're putting you up in front of all those pū kōrero?
Aye.
And just thinking about whai kōrero, I've got an excerpt here from paper. He was just a kōrero. And that's the other thing, he'd sit there at times and just write down whakaro.
Aye.
And it could be about a lot of things. And this one's about whai kōrero. This is one verse that I get inspiration from, a paragraph of this kōrero by whai kōrero. Au e ngā kaiwhakairo I te kupu, e ngā pū kōrero, e ngā kāka tarahai, e ngā manu tatangi whakatiriripa o te kupu. Kei hea koutou kāngaro I te tīpapa, I te pai kōrero, ono nui mā ororoa mā. Mā wai e whakau te waka ka tīkoki, mā wai e whakaara te iwi kāhe. Me whakarāpopoto mai te whakaaro ki tēnei, arā, kua whakataka atu koutou ki tua I te pai o maumahara, ko te moke te tū o koutou marae, o koutou kāinga.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Mufasa.
Oof.
And his teachings, and he uses kupu whakari I te iwi that we've, I think we may have talked about kāka tarahai.
Aye.
And he refers to our marae being lost and not having the pai that we once had on our marae.
Aye.
And his challenge to us was to prove that wrong and to be the solution. So, yeah, I think back to that moment, and I think of that paragraph out of that kōrero from Wharehuia on whai kōrero.
Aye, yep. He was great at personifying, what's an example? Like how we say ngai taringa, or, koutou o a pōpō.
Aye.
He was good at that. He would personify certain states of thought or...
Yes, he'd use personification.
Personification, koina.
He was very good at that because he had such a wide knowledge, not only of te reo, but of the principles of te ao Māori, of the values and everything that underpins te ao Māori.
Kia ora.
And that's why I go back to saying he was the embodiment of all of that.
Aye.
He was the personification, he was the epitome of everything he taught and everything he knew. He was the living example of those things he talked about, and who provided a window for us to see those things. And one of his sayings, ngā te wāhi pipipi o te moana,
Kia ora.
te hohonutanga o te moana, te more o te whenua. He could go and wānanga and think in those depths and ruku.
And ruku, yeah.
But bring those back up to the surface for just the uninitiated to understand.
And palatable servings,
Absolutely.
Bite-sized servings, yeah.
We've got a kōrero I roto I a tainui. He talked about the kai maro.
Kia ora.
Kai maro is the kai that's too hard for somebody to handle, that a baby can't handle.
Aye.
And this was the teachings of the wānanga. I roto I a mātau I a tainui, we talk about kai manga. And kai manga is when you get the kai and put it in your mouth and you munch it up. And then you take it out of your mouth with your fingers and you feed it to your child, to your baby.
Kia ora.
It becomes kai manga. And that's what he would do. He would get that kai maro and he would put it in, chew it up for you, take it out, and it still had the essence, but you were able to digest it
Kia
and
ora.
understand it. Yeah, so koe nā tāna āhua.
I can't help but think how Wharehuia was brought up. Do you have any insight of, did he ever share any stories of, his experiences growing up, or, his, some of the exchanges he had with his kaumātua and stuff? Did he ever share any of that kōrero with you?
Well, he grew up in a time, so he's in his 80s, where kuia and kaumātua were prolific.
Kia ora.
And Te Reo Māori grew up in Rātoki. And Te Reo Māori was the first language, was the only language.
Ka pai.
I roto I tana whānau, I roto I tana iwi. So, you know, he grew up in those teachings. He grew up in Te Reo Māori. You know, a lot of us read about things that happen, read about tikanga. I remember him sharing stories about, one story was about an orator, tētai o nā pū kōrero, and he hit somebody who was crossing the marae.
Kia ora.
At the time he was doing a whai kōrero. Now, we couldn't do those things now.
We couldn't do that, yeah.
And, you know, tātātou titiro ki e rāhuatanga titiro Pākehā nei, or, you know, their president will be taken to court.
Aye, aye.
And these are the people that grew up in tapu and noa.
Aye.
And knew those things, and they were part of their lives. Again, he lived in that world, but he lived in this world. So he was current.
Aye, kia ora.
And that's why he made up, you know, he fashioned his own whakatauki for this time. So he used old knowledge with new thinking.
With new thinking, kia ora. Oh yeah, I like that idea because we talk about te tokotoru a paewhiti, Timoti Karetu, te Poutemora, te Wharehuia Milroy. I want to make a statement is that with their old thinking, they are renewing te ao Māori because this is what they encourage. Wharehuia with him coining new phrases that they have old bones but a new outlook, so they're adaptable to this day and age. Poutemora talks about karakia and using karakia that is relevant to today. Timoti also with the development of Te Reo Māori. So you can imagine that, and probably just with Wharehuia as well, is that their old thinking is the way to new thinking. I don't know how to put it. I don't know. And, you know, so for people to, some people may think, oh, you know, that old stuff, how does that relate to now? They are the epitome of that, of relevance of te ao Māori and te reo Māori, as well as tikanga Māori in 2019.
I composed a pātere that I used as a tauparapara in Te Panekiretanga, and for each of them I wrote a verse, and this one is for te Wharehuia. Tēnā e Wharehuia tautapa mai koa te rangi whāwhā, te āniwa-niwa, te pakoko tawhito, te kupu kōrero. Nō tua whakarere, nō aku kaumātua. Rukuhia e tai mā i te puna o te ki, he manawa whenua e kore mimiti. Rūmaki nei horā te roki o te mahara ki tana huare, hei tohinga mo te kupu. Tōna tuatau, ko te muhu kai, ko te moe, nā te ware. Which is saying, Wharehuia quote to me the length, the variety of Te Reo Māori, it's the depth of Te Reo Māori, the esoteric teachings of Te Reo Māori from my ancestors. Rukuhia e taima, and my friends dive into te puna o te ki, because that was him.
Aye.
Te puna o te ki e te iwi is another kupu whakarite that you use when you're talking about an eloquent speaker, someone who has lots of mātauranga. Te puna o te ki, the fount of oratory o te ki. He manawa whenua e kore mimiti, it is a spring that will never diminish. Rūmaki na iho rā te roki o te mahara. So, immerse your mind ki tana huare in his spittle. As a way of saying, listen to what he's saying, the words that are coming from his mouth.
Kia ora.
Te huare. Hei tohinga mo te kupu. Ne? How would you...
Hei tohinga.
Hei tohinga mo te kupu.
Hei tohinga mo te kupu.
As a baptism for the words that will come out of your own mouth.
Aye.
And his whakatauki is, ko te muhu kai, ko te moe nā te ware. Is when only a plebeian gets tired and hungry.
Kia ora.
Pretty much.
Te muhu kai, ai, nā te ware.
And just as I say that, I remember it was a kura reo, and that I was a tauira at, and Wharehuia, we had Wharehuia. If you go to the kura reo, you have the morning, and you have a paramanawa, and then the next session with that kaiako, and then lunch, and you move to the next pauako. Well, we had him in the morning, my group, this particular time. We didn't even look at anything in the book that he set out.
Kia ora.
E kōrero ana ia, I think we started with one whakatauki, and I won't say he went off on a tangent at all. It wasn't a kotiti at all. Koe nei te tuku i te mātauranga Māori, we had a wānanga. And it was just beautiful to just sit there and listen to him. He just spoke. So we sat there for, 2 hours, got to paramano, hour and a half. Well, we kept sitting and he kept talking, and someone came in to tell us it was Paramanawa, and he, and then he sort of asked us, well, should we just continue on? Well, we all nodded, and he kept talking, and it was question time. And then 2 hours after that, we kept talking, and then the lunch time came, the lunch bell. Someone came and told us, haramai ki te kai kua karanga te whare. And he says, ko hiki a tātou kōrero, ko haere tātou ki te tina, ne? There's a pātai in there, ne? Because I think he was enjoying it too.
Yeah.
And you can't get those moments back once you break the
Yeah,
wairua.
you can't return to them, eh? You got to stay in there. Yeah.
And, haere tātou ki te tina, ne? And I was a bit cheeky, but I said, e koro, ko te kai a te rangatira he kōrero. The food of chiefs is kōrero. And he smiled and he said, touche. Which is another one of us Kiwai used to say. Touche. And sat back down and kept talking, and none of us had lunch.
Kia ora.
Kare tetahi o mātau I kai. Had lunch, and then after he finished, we went off to our next class. And I think maybe the class after us were a bit jealous because I think he'd used most of his strength on us, and he went back to bookwork.
He just gave them some money to do while he sat and...
But that was a very Māori way of delivering mātauranga. And again, the time constraints. And I know we have, ara tetahi kōrero kei takahia a tahu.
Aye.
Now, that was one of his whakatauki he taught me.
Kia
It
ora.
didn't belong to him, but when the kitchen calls, you go.
Aye.
Kei takahia a tahu. Do not belittle tahu. Do not trample on tahu. And tahu, in this respect, is a personification for
The efforts of the ringawera.
the efforts of the ringawera.
Aye, aye.
Kei takahia a tahu. Then there's another one, there's another whakatauki from him again. He kōrero whakataru na umukai.
Kia ora.
Which is, and that is the kōrero he gave, is a kōrero that you're enjoying the kōrero so much, or the kōrero is so, you're so enthralled with the kōrero that you don't worry about what's in your umu.
Aye, aye.
In the hangi.
Aye, aye.
Ne? And that was another kōrero. And he taught me that while we have, there's always a whakatauki for this, and there is a lot of times another whakatauki that you can use in reply to that whakatauki, in debate to that whakatauki.
So you mean there's always the...
One that contradicts the other, an opposite.
An opposite, an answer to that one.
Yeah.
So, because I remember a while back, you talked about how you would answer whakatauki for whakatauki.
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, it's cool as. And he inspired me.
He kōrero whakataru na kōrero.
Kōrero whakataru na umukai. Yeah. So, koena tētahi o aku maharatanga mōna.
And how did he start? Was he a teacher at some humble kura?
I think his teaching career started at Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato.
Oh, kia ora.
Well, I know Timoti was at Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato, and then he got Wharehuia to come.
Oh,
but he worked for Māori Affairs for many, many years here in Waikato. His base was in Hamilton. And that's the other thing. Because of the roles he had in the pōtai he wore over the years, Māori Affairs, Waitangi Tribunal, and being a pū kōrero, he took in a lot of knowledge and mātauranga from the people he met.
Aye, kia ora.
So he shared a lot of kōrero with me about kaumātua from Tainui waka that I never ever saw in my time.
Kia ora.
But he was friends with, and he spent time with, because he worked with the people, being a kaimahi for Māori Affairs, which was Te Tari Māori, and then became later on Te Panekiretanga, what we know today. Bit different what their function was back then, though.
Yep.
So, koina, engari, tana kuhu I roto I te ao ako, tētahi was Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato, and it was in the 90s that he became, when Timoti set up the initiative with Kura Reo, that he became one of the stalwart kaiako of Kura Reo.
Kia ora. And I don't know if we may be varying a bit, but was he like someone that was taught by the late John Rangihau?
Yes, he was. Him and Timoti actually were part of that wānanga.
Kia ora.
That John Rangihau convened with the other elders of Tūhoe. I think he facilitated them. Koia te kai whakahaere Wharehuia, and he spent a lot of time with John Rangihau. And again, you know, I think of a lot of the stories he shared about John Rangihau, and he got, John Rangihau was their kaumātua for Te Whare Wānanga Waikato for a time there well, and he was over here in Waikato. Nō reira, you know, and I'm thinking, I found this whakatauki that he would quote, and po, I think it's by Newton, Isaac Newton. If I have seen a little further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants.
Kia ora.
And this is one of the giants of our time that I and many other people were fortunate and lucky enough to stand on. And I wouldn't say, I think, you know, hei tirohanga Māori, we weren't standing on his shoulders, but I think he was giving us a hiki back.
Hiki back. What's one of his whakatauaki?
Well, I think the one, and I've seen, this is one now, and and it's pertinent because he's gone. And one of his whakatauki was mā te mata o te kaheru e tuku.
Kia ora.
Mā te mata o te arero e hahu mai.
E hahu mai.
Which means the edge or the face of the spade will bury you and bury one. And the edge of the tongue will bring them back.
Bring them back.
Meaning we will talk about their life's accomplishments and what they've done. We will carry on with the mātauranga they gave, with the teachings they gave. And that's one of his whakatauki that I hear a lot in whai kōrero, and I use too.
Ka pai, yeah, there's something to remember.
And that's the thing is, it's the imagery he could.
That's what it's what he was good at. That's what he's good at. What are some people to expect at such a large farewell for?
And so everybody knows this is actually, we've pre-recorded this on the day of him passing away. So this is pre-recorded, but you're hearing it on the day of his nehu, or his funeral. And yeah, a tangihanga like this, lots of hands and he rauringa I oti ai. So his people, Tūhoe, have had the marae, will have the marae prepared, would have had the marae prepared, mā tātua in Rotorua. And it was his wish to lay in mā tātua while he grew up in Rātoki, and that's where his tūranga waiwai is, or his footstool. It was his wish to lay at mā tātua and to lie next to his late wife, Whaia Niwa, who was also a beautiful soul. And again, my memories go back to her tangihanga and being there. And I think about the people that were there at the time and the orators, and between that time and now is nearly 10 years.
Wow.
The loss that we've had, but people from all over the motu would have attended, from all iwi, from people that he touched through his life in all sorts of ways. And whether it be professionally through his career, or just a passing, meeting somebody. You know, I think it was on the movie, I don't know if it's the movie or it's the series, and King George says to, at the time she's not Queen Elizabeth, and I'm not a royalist at all, but he says people will always remember how you made them feel. They will always remember that.
Tika.
And I think a lot of people that would have come to his tangihanga are going because of how he made them feel.
How he made them feel. Kia ora.
Yeah, and they'll remember that and they'll treasure that and hold on to that for the rest of their lives. And there'll be those that are going, of course, to pay their respect and share their aroha, and knowing that they are where they are in this point in their lives because of that man. Because of him, I mean, he is one of my mentors, and I say that in humility. And my connection to him was life-changing, and it was only a little bit compared to what other people had with him. So that shows, I guess, the influence, and I don't like using the word impact, but that he's had on me in my life and how I conduct myself today. Yeah. So people will be going there to share, and they'll be going to share their aroha and grieve for him And there'll be people that going there, they'll be going there to have a laugh. All those things happen at Tangihanga, that, you know, that they're a reunion of a sort.
And there'll be us real geeks watching the pū kōrero. Because as much as it's a really, and we talked about this in early episodes, is, you know, you get a bit geeky or you get a bit excited when it comes to things like this because of the greatest. And we talked about the tikanga Māori, Te Reo Māori is heightened at such occasions like this, and so it should be. Me pērā ka tika.
Yeah, tika tonu. You know, going back to his whakatauki. One of his whakatauki, and I've seen, and it's become normalised. Everybody knows it. I think, and again, I've heard, e tahi mea, nā mea tēnei whakatauki, e tamai hara iaia.
Tama.
Is ko te whakaiti, te whare o te whakaaro nui.
Kia ora.
Humility is the citadel of the conscious mind.
Of the conscious mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and, you know, whakaiti is something that is easy to talk about.
Aye.
But to, you know, really, and I don't even want to say practice it, but to be, you know, you need to be whakaiti.
Yeah.
And, you know, people say to me, well, what about whai kōrero and kapaaga? Because that, you know, that's not whakaiti in it. Yes, but there's a way about it.
There's a way about it,
going about
he
it.
Whakahihi Māori oki.
Yeah, yeah. He rere ke tērā.
Aye.
Ngāpō, the late Ngāpō.
Kia ora.
He, you know, te tai o ana kōrero.
Aye.
Te mea tuatai, me whakaiti.
Aye. Te mea tuatoru.
Tuatoru, me whakaiti.
Me whakaiti.
Te mea tuatoru, me whakaiti.
Aye.
So that is one of his whakatauki that he's left to us.
Kia ora.
And he lived it. He lived it.
Yep.
He lived it. But, you know, at the same time, and I wasn't as close to him as some other people, but I'm sharing what I was fortunate enough to get and see and feel the times that I did spend with him.
I feel very fortunate. I'm sure many other listeners now feel very fortunate to be able to hear this.
But he was a family man.
Kia ora.
He loved his wife. He loved all of his whānau and his mokopuna and his pets, his dog Rocky. He loved kai. He loved eating.
Kia ora.
He loved boil up. We would stop in Taupō, and he would either get a pie and a sausage roll and maybe a lamington, nothing fancy. He liked his fruit drinks.
Oh, kia ora.
He wasn't into cup of teas or coffee.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, going back, he loved that whānau time. But it's that he was a atua. But when you sat with him, he could make you feel like you were an atua.
Aye.
And another whakatauki he shared in one of his many, many classes, and it was a tohu, and there's a tikanga. And that's the thing, he taught about the tikanga within whakatauki as well, not just what a whakatauki means. So tikanga is also a way to teach people tikanga.
Aye, kia ora.
And one whakatauki is, which is a favourite of mine, is kai mai ana koe he atua, noho atu anau he tangata.
Noho atu he tangata.
Which basically translates as, you're sitting there eating like a god, while I'm sitting here like a mere mortal. Which is a tohu to anybody, whether it's at the marae or at your home. You should be giving the better portion of your kai to the manuhiri. Those that have, and you could look at it in a lot of contexts.
Aye.
For instance, a teacher and what the teacher gives to his or her tauira students. Ne? So at his birthday, I used that whakatauki and I flipped it around and I said to him, you know, this is koe nei te whakatauki, whakaako mai koe, kai mai ana koe atua, noho anau e tangata. Engari, ka tahuri au I te whakatauki, ka mea au ki a koe, whāngai mai ana koe, ki au. Ne?
Ai.
Hei atua.
Hei atua.
Whāngai mai ana koe he tangata, noho atua anau he atua.
Kia ora.
So I sort of flipped it around saying, you know, the things that you would give in humility, you would give them as a man so that I could sit here.
As an atua.
As an atua.
Kia ora.
And that's that koe nā tana āhua ako, koe nā tana āhua tuku I te mātauranga. Yeah.
Che. No reira, he utu tēnā ki tāna, ki tāna whakatauki mua rā, whakatauaki mua. Laue.
So, you know, we're talking about his whānau, and some years ago now, his wife passed away. I think it's coming up to 10 or so years, that whaia niwa, who he loved, and they were darlings. They were hard case too. And after she passed away, Timoti composed a song
Kia ora.
for niwa. Nō reira e wharehuia, koe nei te waiata e whakaro anau. Hei waiata I runga I tēnei hōtaka. And I think that that's fitting that the song is the waiata o te Wiki in this episode, composed by Timoti Karetu. The rangi, or the tune, is by Pānia Papa and Leon Blake, Aku Hoa Mauroa. And I think it feels it's the right waiata, not only because it's for Wharehuia's wife, but because of the relationship that Timoti had with Wharehuia.
Kia ora.
And we'll talk a little bit about that after the waiata. E te iwi, whakarongo mai.
E karanga kau ana e niwa tahuri mai te
Te rōreka hoki.
I can't listen to that song too many times.
Yeah. Me te aroha o ngā kupu ne, I roto.
Aye.
And I'm reminded of one of, actually it's a whakatauki from Tīmoti, ko te mama I te utu o te aroha.
Kia ora.
Yeah,
Tika.
grief is the price of love.
Of love, aye.
And e rongo ana tērā I roto I tērā waiata.
Aye, me te rangi.
Tērā ahua.
Yeah.
And me te ahua o ngā tātou kōrero.
Aye, kia ora.
Yeah, so and that song is off CD produced by Leon Blake for Te Panekiretanga o Te Reo, and those waiata on there are waiata that we sing in Te Panekiretanga o Te Reo on there by various composers. Hoi anō kuira tērā waiata. E hoa I whakaro au I kōrero rā hau tāua mō Timoti rāwa ko Wharehuia.
Aye.
And Timoti will tell his own story about how because he's told me how he met Wharehuia and their association with one another and how they become very, very good lifelong friends, really. And, you know, e tangi anau ki te whānau o te Wharehuia,
Aye.
e tangi nei ki ana tamariki ki ana mokopuna, e tangi ana hoki, e aroha ana hoki kia Timoti.
Kia ora.
Koe nei tana tino hoa, koe nei tana mauroa, tana hoa mauroa. Wharehuia had lots of friends too, though, in golf.
Aye.
That was one of his other passions, was golf. And I remember when we went to the tangihanga of Te Aopehi Kara
Kia ora.
back in 2006. And Wharehuia was the last kai kōrero, and it was one of the biggest paipai I had seen before the tangihanga of Te Ariki Nui.
Aye.
So she was still alive when Te Aopehi, who was one of her renowned kaumātua of Tainui and Ngāti Kahungunu, passed away. And man, there had to be 30 or more speakers.
Wow.
We went on in the morning at 10 o'clock and the whai kōrero finished about 4 in the afternoon.
Wow.
So what's that, 6 hours of whai kōrero? And anyway, Wharehuia was the last speaker, and I thought, he hasn't got anything left
What's
to
there
say.
to say, yeah.
And, you know, you silly mortal.
Mortal, wow, how
To
the
think
doubt, the depth.
And, you know, he got up and stole the show, of course,
Wow.
After all of those speakers. But and that was one of the things he said, Kimia he kōrero, kare anō kia kōrero
Tika.
And he talked about, because Te Aopehi Kara was also a passionate golf player.
Wow.
So he got up to talk about their time, I roto I te golfing. But anyway, karea Timoti prei korowha. E rere ke tana korowha. Engari ko tana whakahohua kia Wharehuia. So I thought it was, you know, that I share this ngeri that he wrote, and he drew on, his inspiration was a kōrero that Te Wharehuia gave about Te Reo Māori.
Kia ora.
And I'm just going to read it in Te Reo Māori and then the translation from Tīmoti. Nō rere te ui whakarongo mai. Ki mai nei a te Wharehuia whakahokia mai. Mai te mata o te pene ki te mata o te arero. Kei noho kaunoa hei reo mo te pepa te pene. Te titi ke ai ki te poho ki te ngākau aroha. I nā moe ko te tupu ki te whenua, ka kore ko te puāwai te manahua. I nā taua ki te one haumako ki te ngākau o te tangata, me pēhea e kore ai e tūperepere e pāhautea. E rango nai tō kakara, e tōku reo, e o iwi putanoa, i te waka, i te ika māui tiki a Taranga, e takoto nei. He aha te aha ka pahawa i te uapare, he kore. He aha te aha ka pahawa i te hurikiko, he nui. Tēnā, kia whakatore ake, kia whati mai ko te taipari kiuta me pāo. Waihoki, kai ngā te kai awake te rā, he tau nihoroa. Engari kē ia, me tau hāware, me tau pōike, tau atu, kei tōku reo. So that is Te Reo Māori, and I will read Timoti's translation of his own ngiri. So yes, fond memories of when we tried to translate it, and he said that our translation wasn't worthy at all. Anyway, a paean for the language.
Kia ora.
Te Wharehuia has issued the dictum, return it to its rightful place, from the tip of the pen to the tip of the tongue, lest it remain a language destined solely for pen and paper, rather than finding its niche in the hearts and souls of us all. If a plant lies dormant in the ground, it will never effloresce or reach full bloom. If planted in fertile soil, the heart of a person, how could the growth not be vigorous and luxuriant, so that your bouquet, O my language, can be savoured by all your people in both the South and the North Islands? What can accrue from forever pointing the finger of blame? Absolutely nothing. What will aspiration and determination achieve? An incredible amount. Let us, like the oyster catcher, take advantage of opportunity and enjoy the feast, for tomorrow there could well be a famine. Ours then is to ensure that the years to come will be nothing but years of plenty. But those sentiments, O my language, return to where you should be, to my bosom, to my heart, to my tongue, to my total being, that you might live on for many a year, in perpetuity. Anna. E tama, tērā whakapakeatanga nera. You almost need to translate the English.
Well, that's what I was thinking. What's the English of that?
Koina te kōrero, and I guess I'm not going to go all over right through that, Ngiri, but just to pick out the very start of that paean for the language. Ki mai nei a te wharehuia whakahokia mai te reo, mai te mata o te pene, me te pepa ki te mata o te arero.
Kia ora.
So, don't just write the language and read about the language, read Te Reo Māori. We need to speak Te Reo Māori.
Yeah, return it to the tongue.
Exactly, and then in closing, to it's such a part of us. May it be a part of us.
Aye.
And I think that's a fitting closing kōrero for this hōtaka that te wharehuia will be on the lips of following generations in the taonga that he has left, in the teachings, and will be a part of everybody forevermore. Nō reira, e te pāpā oki o tira tātou ngā kanohi ora o rātou mā, e mihi anau kia koutou katoa I whakarongo mai rā ki tēnei whakapāhotanga motu hake.
Ai.
Taringa, ko māua tēnei, ko te puaheiri, e whakamāna wātu nei, I roto I te aroha, I roto anō hoki te whakaiti, tēnā koutou, hei ko nā maira.
Whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako, kōrero flowing at the hook of force, kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds, kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā ko nā whakapiri mai ki te, kaupapa tino whakahira, whakarongo pi kari mai, hare mai, o Taringa, hare mai, we gotta gather up close everybody, Kani move that body, Kani move that body.
Taringa, he mea tuku nā te wānanga o Aotearoa. Nā te māngai pāho I tautoko. To listen to more episodes, search for us on your podcast app and subscribe. Taringa, whakarongo mai.